Hi and welcome. Bitachon. Today we'll be learning from Beis HaLevi on Bitachon by Rabbi Satan. Beis HaLevi opens his discussion of Bitachon with a statement about the obligation to have Bitachon and the consequences of not having it. He writes, חובת הביטחון בא בפסוקים הרבה רבו מספר, ומי שם חסר בוי עבירה גדולה היא. The obligation of Bitachon appears in many psukim, too many to count. And if one lacks Bitachon, it is regarded as a great sin. We see that Beis HaLevi points out that it's an obligation of Bitachon. Many people mistakenly think that the Bitachon, relying on Hashem, is just an advisable way of life that the Torah encourages us to follow. Beis HaLevi begins by stressing that the Bitachon is much more than an option, enabling us to calm our fears and to live a happy, tranquil lives. It is an outright Torah obligation incumbent on every Jew at all times. Just as the Torah commands us to keep Shabbos, to keep kosher, and to give tzedakah, it also commands us to have Bitachon, to believe that everything is controlled by Hashem, and therefore that we must place our full trust in Him. There is such a concept that is called a mitzvah ke'umit. It's a mitzvah that one can fulfill if you have an opportunity, if you'd like to. For example, sending away a mother bird. If one has an opportunity, one can fulfill the mitzvah. But if one doesn't, you don't have to walk around to look for nests to fulfill the mitzvah. The mitzvah of Bitachon doesn't fall into this category. A person that is having a challenge cannot say, oh, okay, so I have a challenge. I don't have to trust Hashem. I'll deal with it. So the Beis HaLevi says over here, no, you must have Bitachon. And furthermore, as he words it, one that lacks Bitachon, aveira gdoila hi, that it's a great sin. So we see that that when a person is in a challenging situation and he can rely on Hashem and doesn't, he is doing something wrong. Chovos HaLevavos in Shara Bitachon in 7th chapter discusses various reasons why many people do not have Bitachon, one of which he writes is simply ignorance. People do not properly understand that Bitachon is an obligation and that Hashem Himself commanded us to trust in Him. And as Beis HaLevi writes, it's a very known and very obvious mitzvah that he writes that it appears in many psukim, too many to count. Beis HaLevi doesn't bring the sources because he considers it so clear and obvious that the Torah requires us to have Bitachon that there is no need to bring to cite the sources. But what are the sources for this great mitzvah? So the Rishonim and Achronim offer various sources. It says that it's brought down that not only is Bitachon a mitzvah in and of itself, it is actually the most essential of all 613 mitzvahs. The Gemara in Marcus 24a states, Ba Chabakuk ve'hemidan al achas sheneimar v'tzadek be'emunaso yichya. The prophet Habakkuk came forth and established them, the 613 mitzvahs, upon one. As it says in Habakkuk 2:4, a righteous man lives with emunah. The Gaon of Vilna in Mishlei 30a writes that this concept of living with emunah is referring to Bitachon. Another source we have is from a son of Rambam, Rab Avram ben Rambam. He says that the mitzvah of remembering the man is the source of mitzvah of Bitachon. It says you should remember the man. According to some, it's one of the 613 mitzvahs. Remember that Hashem provides. The Smak says that the Anochi Hashem Elokecha Asher Hotzitzicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, which means I am Hashem, your Hashem, that took you out of Egypt. And it means that I will take you out of all the future problems. Tamim Tichya, another one, which is be complete and perfect in your faith of Hashem. So we see that there are numerous sources for this mitzvah, and it's important to fulfill to such an extent that as Beis HaLevi brings it down, that if one lacks bitachon, it is regarded as a great sin. Rabbeinu Yaina in ch.1 writes that one who doesn't have bitachon transgresses the negative commandment. When you go out to the battle against your enemy and you see a horse and a chariot, a people more numerous than you, you shall not fear them, for Hashem, your Hashem, is with you, as it says in Dvarim 28. Additionally, later on in this essay, Beis HaLevi writes that a lack of bitachon is the result of forgetting Hashem. Chas v'shalom. This is a negative commandment, for the Torah warns in Dvarim 6:12. Beware for yourself lest you forget Hashem. Rabbi Satan brings up a very beautiful mashal to illustrate and to show how important and necessary is the mitzvah of bitachon. He brings an example of an intern doctor. He says that the intern has his first night shift in a hospital, and the head of the emergency room tells him, if you get into a difficult situation, here is a phone number to call. Just call us and we'll handle it. So difficult situation comes up, and it happens to be in the middle of the night, and the intern looks at his watch and realizes that it's very late, and he, on his own, decides, okay, I'm not going to call anybody, I'm going to perform the operation myself. But the operation is way above his expertise. So, but he still goes ahead and performs it, and the patient dies. The next morning, when they go over the notes, the doctor asks him, "Why did you do that? You weren't allowed to do that surgery. You knew it's way beyond your expertise. Why didn't you ask for help?" So the intern says, "Well, I didn't want to bother anybody." So the doctor tells him, "That's not. We didn't give you this choice. You weren't allowed to do this. When you have a problem, you have to ask for help." So the same is true with our lives. Hashem didn't say, "If you'd like, you can ask me for help." It's not a choice, it's a mitzvah. And we need to ask Hashem for help. We see, when we learn here, that Hashem commands us to do that, and He wants us to rely on Him and to trust Him and ask Him for help. It's as we said, it's the same as any other mitzvah, just like Shabbos and Kashrus. And in order and it's just like we wouldn't want to miss out on any other mitzvah, just like we wouldn't want to miss out on hearing shofar on Rosh Hashanah, the same way we shouldn't want to miss out on this precious mitzvah. And just like it's with any other mitzvah, just like with Shabbos, in order to perform the mitzvah properly, we need to learn about 39 malachos and all the details of Shabbos in order to properly and correctly fulfill the mitzvah. The same thing is with mitzvah of bitachon. It's important for us to learn and to try to understand all the details of what is required of us and how we need to do it to be able to fulfill this mitzvah. So, and may Hashem please help us and bless us and help us to learn and understand all the details of this mitzvah, and help us and to come close to Him and to trust Him and rely on Him in the best possible for us way. Thank you for joining. I wish you all Hatzlacha Rabba.